Okay, so today we're going to talk about the scientific method. First thing we want to do is set up your notes. So make sure you have your lines, one down the left, and then the two, one slightly below the top, and one 5 or 6 lines from the bottom. Your title for this is going to be the scientific method. And your essential question, which you haven't done before, is describe the steps of the scientific method. So you want to put that right underneath the title. And you can, it's okay to write EQ or essential question, describe the steps of the scientific method. That's going to be important later. Okay, so let's get started. The scientific method isn't really a set list of steps, it's more of a process. So at any point you can go back to another place. So we start with asking a question. You can go to form a hypothesis. After your hypothesis, you can test it. And then you can actually go back, and as you analyze, you can draw conclusions, or you can start to ask a question, make observations, then form your hypothesis. So there's not really one set way that you can complete the scientific method. You can go from spot to spot. There's a recommended way, but there's no set way. So the first step in the scientific method is to ask a question. And the question should be clear, specific, and identify what you want to find out. And it must be testable. Testable means that if you do a scientific experiment, you can find the answer by doing that experiment. The second step is to form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is defined as a testable prediction that is based on prior knowledge. And remember, when we talked about inferences, prior knowledge is used in that. So they're written in an if-then format. So if I write down these notes, then I will earn a good grade on the quiz. The third step is to create and conduct an experiment. So you want to develop a test or an experiment that can be repeated multiple times. You have to have 4 things. You have to have a control, which is the part of an experiment not tested and used for a comparison. You have to have the independent variable, which is the factor that is changed to test the hypothesis, also known as the cause. The dependent variable, which is the results of what has changed, or the effect, and constants, which are variables that do not change. And be prepared to come into class one day and talk about these 4 things and be able to identify them, because that becomes very important in an experiment. And we're going to talk about that in class. We're going to practice that in class. So if it's confusing now, we'll get you there. Fourth step is observe and record the data. And this is stuff that we've already talked about, so this should be review. You do that through observation and inference. So an observation, once again, is information gathered using your 5 senses. And an inference is a statement made from observations. We also have predictions, which, as we talked about, are inferences about the future. Okay, so that's that. So form a conclusion, analyze your data, and answer the question, do your results support your hypothesis? Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But when you write a conclusion, you want to make sure that you use your data to back up your conclusion. And then the last one is communicate the results. So you want to share the data information with others, especially scientists. And we have our nice little science fair first prize here. We'll talk about the science fair pretty soon. Okay, so for your questions, you want to create 4 questions using the following question words. You want to use explain, describe, compare, how, define, or why. You don't have to use all of them, but use most of them. I don't want any what questions here. You want to use words like explain, describe, compare, or why. And then for your summary, you want to write a 3-sentence summary that answers the essential question. And remember, this goes below the bottom line on your notes. And there's the setup of your notes again. So you're writing your questions over here and your summary at the bottom. And your main notes should have been in here. And that's it.